some of these old ideas they die hard, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of like I want to say death throes, but it may be a little premature for it to be death throes. But basically, I think you see the old guard kind of feeling irrelevant, like their time is up, and they want to persist. You know, this is it's kind of like its own creature that it has become, right? It's like a hive mind. All these people working towards the same goal of just making this old system and this old way of life persist, right? And we're tired of it, a lot of us, and we're ready for the next thing. We're ready to evolve, but the old system doesn't want to die, and so it's fighting, it's gasping, it's trying to
Yeah.
stay relevant.
Welcome to another episode of the Bloomburg Democrat. I'm Sally Taylor. This is my, once again, probably favorite brother, John,
Thanks.
because he likes to spend time talking to me. I can't imagine. It's amazing. Um, Today we were going to talk about all the things that are going on in Texas because we are two native-born Texicans.
Yeah.
And so what happens in our home state is significant, not just for us personally, but in this case, for the nation.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of news around it going on right now.
Mm.
So, John, tell me what you know already.
Well, I've mostly just been reading the headlines. I've been kind of keeping my eye on it, waiting to see if there's going to be something that I really, really wanted to read. But I did read up on it a little bit a couple times, and it just seems like Trump is kind of saying, "Hey, Republicans, let's do this," and then the Republicans are like, "Hi ho, yes sir, let's do that." And then now they're trying to gerrymander districts so that they can pick up extra seats in the Texas the state
Yeah,
elections, right? This is
they're picking them up for congressional seats.
okay.
Exactly. So they want to shift the
Federal
power in
congressional
Congress.
seats.
Yes, for federal congressional seats. Yes.
Okay.
So the goal is to pick up 5 more seats in Congress
Right.
within for from Texas, to hopefully, as
Hmm.
the Republicans are looking at it, and as Trump especially is looking at it, is to maintain control of the House during
Right.
the midterms. And it's is causing a stir nationwide for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Republicans have deep concerns. Trump himself has deep concerns that they will lose the House in the midterms, as they should be concerned, because
Yes,
there's
they
all
should
kinds
be.
of crazy going on, and there's a good chance they'll lose it.
Yeah.
But this is probably unprecedented in that it's, as far as I'm aware, the first time a president has asked for a state
Hmm.
to pass a resolution creating those seats for him specifically.
Right.
This has been a common gerrymandering has long been in our history as a nation,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's
but
always kind of been considered like the rotten, dirty, scoundrelly thing to do.
right. Well,
Right.
because generally in most states, this is not true everywhere now, but it probably was true at one time, and it's still true for a lot of states, is it is the party in power within the state
Right.
that draws the lines.
Right.
And that's the fox watching over the hen house,
Yes.
right?
It's basically a sore losers trying to make sure that I'm sorry, sore winners.
So we're winners.
Sorry.
That's
Sore
all right.
winners trying to make sure that they're keeping their seats,
Their
their
power.
wins. Yeah.
Right. And in this case, it's over the perceived coming loss,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And an
The
actual
defensive.
request from the president. And so, of course, Democrats nationwide are screaming that it's unprecedented and unheard of. And it's not unprecedented, of course, that gerrymandering occurs. It happens on both
Right.
sides of the aisle.
Right.
Um, And so, there's definitely a discussion to be had about that. What is unusual in this case is that it is a redrawing of the maps in the middle of a census decade. Usually it happens right after a census, so that if they need to redistrict a little bit to keep populations, relatively balanced, yes, if they're not actually gerrymandering, to win seats, they're making sure the populations are stable and that there's roughly, I think, 700,000 people per district. And so back during the time of Lyndon Johnson is when they passed the Voting Rights Act, which was aimed at making sure that minorities had equal representation in government. And that required a certain amount of redistricting to ensure that minorities were better represented in Congress.
Right.
And so there's actually, I was reading up some really interesting, what looked like gerrymandering lines drawn in places like Chicago, Illinois, where there's some odd shapes that are very specifically about giving a Black population representation and a Hispanic population that surrounds that Black area also representation. And so in some cases, gerrymandering is done to protect actual groups of people who tend to have commonality. So, it's been done for good, it's been done for evil, right?
You wish that there'd just be a better way. Like, not gerrymandering. Of course, there's a better way than gerrymandering, but of just drawing these districts, like there should be a non-partisan way of making these districts, right? Like they should be squares or something. But
well, yes, but again, they're trying to grab relatively similar sized populations, right? So that people are represented at the same level, at least at the congressional level. The only other thing is that there are some states who have passed laws that district lines are drawn by nonpartisan organizations.
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
Sounds like a better way
right?
To go.
It would seem like a better way to go. So some of these states who are working to convince Texas to change their path that they're on, like California, have some of those laws in place. So even though they're saying, if you do it, we'll do it, the process for California to do it would be much more challenging for them because they have more restrictions around that type of behavior. And so I'm not sure if it's a veiled threat or not on the part of California to be able to do that. Gavin Newsom is certainly saying that they'll get it done if necessary, but it wouldn't happen until I think their current November elections, which does give them a full year if that did occur afterwards for the midterms. So do we fight fire with fire, John? That's the question. Do two wrongs make a right in this case?
See, this is the problem that Democrats have. They want to play fair. They want to be good people. And their opponents are people who don't want to play fair and don't want to be good people, in my opinion. In their own opinion, I'm sure they think they're being good people because their values are so drastically different. But from a Democratic perspective, of which I am only very loosely affiliated myself, I think they keep trying to play fair and they keep getting sucker punched. And so I think if they want to kind of balance things out, they're going to have to start sucker punching themselves, not themselves, but
punching back, basically. Yes, they're going to have
punching back.
Bring a gun to a gunfight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did see something very interesting the other day. What was it? Was it maybe Colbert, perhaps? I think, who said, someone was trying to bring a knife to a knife fight. And he's like, why bother even bringing a knife to a knife fight? Bring a gun, bring nuclear weapons or something. Like, stop fighting fair was basically the message. And I'm leaning that direction myself. Like
Yeah.
I do still want to be a good person and I do want humanity to move forward in a positive direction. But it's hard to do when you have someone who's constantly trying to sink your ship,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm actually quite proud of the the House members of in Texas that
Yeah,
have broken quorum. The Democrats have
right.
left the state.
Yeah, yeah,
And it is a historically documented activity
yeah,
to break quorum in Texas. It's happened more than once over the years when there was a power struggle of this type
right.
for the opposing side to just leave so
Hmm.
that the law cannot be passed, or the redistricting in this case cannot be accomplished.
Right.
And the governor of Texas, among others, are
Hmm.
trying really hard to punish
Yeah,
those Democrats and
yeah,
do everything in their power to get them back, down to try and get the FBI
yeah.
to haul their butts back to Texas,
Yep. And the
which of course
FBI
is
don't
not
seem to be able
legal.
to do anything. Exactly. It seems like there's a lot they want to do, but it doesn't seem like there's much they're going to be able to do.
Right. It's
Not
a lot of
legally,
threat
anyway.
at this moment. Yeah. But we're also in a time frame in the United States where a lot of things that we had long held to be illegal are actually occurring on a daily basis now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did
Uh,
see something recently about deferred prosecutions that are used for banks especially, but corporations in general. Um, there were a few well, like Enron, for example, and then there was another one that I can't quite remember the name of right now. I think it started with an A. But these large companies that break the law gratuitously, and then they were punished for it, and the company had to go under. It was shuttered, and so all these people lost their jobs, and so that kind of freaked everybody out in the government, and so they stopped pursuing these lawsuits, these criminal lawsuits against corporations, and started giving them like deferred prosecutions and things like this, so that if as long as they kind of keep their nose clean for a little while, then all is forgiven and nothing
right.
happens. But then,
Right.
like, basically, what happens is that they're not keeping their nose clean, and they just get another one of these deferred prosecution.
Right. Or they just are, or more surreptitious in the way they do it. They
Yeah,
hide it better, perhaps, the next time.
perhaps, or they get more of these deferred prosecution
Right.
decisions, and so they're just completely like they're not punished at all. And so banks, especially, just breaking the law on a daily basis with no care in the world, and then if they get fined, it's just the cost of doing business. But nobody's going to go to jail, it seems.
Well, and that's the thing. We have well established now that the wealthy do not go to jail in our country
Yeah,
for anything. We have a felon in office,
yeah,
a convicted felon in the
yeah.
highest office in our
How much
nation.
time did he spend in prison while being a convicted felon? None, right? Why not?
None, none,
I'm still a little
because
confused about this. Why didn't he spend any time in prison?
somehow we're afraid of power, or, he's a convenient puppet. I don't know, John. How does that happen?
I
In
don't
a
know.
nation of laws, we are obviously not a
Yeah,
nation of laws, because, like I
not
said,
really.
laws are being broken
Well,
every day on his
oh,
behalf.
yes, we're definitely a nation of laws because we have way too many laws. We're just not a nation of justice.
That might be a better way of putting it. Yeah. So yes, the one good thing that I see coming out of this situation in Texas is that Democrats are showing a backbone, even if it's at the state level,
Yes, that's true.
right? They're
Yeah,
showing some fight.
yeah,
And I think we've got a lot of these representatives that are getting a fair amount of recognition now.
yeah,
And they're becoming, faces that people are beginning to recognize on national
yeah,
news. One
yeah.
of my favorites is a young man. He's a Christian preacher,
Hmm.
named James Tallarico. I've followed him for some time now, well before this event occurred. And he is a really good example of what a servant of the people looks like
Yeah.
and what a Christian should look like.
Yeah.
He does seem to try to follow his faith in the
Hmm.
process. And
That's nice.
so he's getting a lot of FaceTime on a more national scale. So if we can get more young politicians like that, more politicians who are clearly working for the people rather than working for big business or for their
Right.
own,
Yeah.
power and their own elevation,
Yeah. All the
then
neos got to go.
yeah, we might have some hope. I've said for a long time, my hope is always in the next generation
Yeah.
because they're going to come into their own. And I
Well,
think
see,
each
I kind of
generation gets a
thought that
little
my
better.
generation was going to do the same thing, and well, not so much. So, well,
Your
maybe
generation is doing better than the one before it. Hopefully y-
the
your
next one will do
children,
even better.
your little girl is going to make
Hmm.
the world that much better, when
Hopefully.
she comes to her adulthood.
Yeah.
Uh, but there is a pendulum swing, and man, are we experiencing a pendulum swing, excuse me, a pendulum swing right now. And unfortunately, it's back towards authoritarianism and fascism.
It's that some of these old ideas they die hard, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of like I want to say death throes, but it may be a little premature for it to be death throes. But basically, I think you see the old guard kind of feeling irrelevant, like their time is up, and they want to persist. You know, this is it's kind of like its own creature that it has become, right? It's like a hive mind. All these people working towards the same goal of just making this old system and this old way of life persist, right? And we're tired of it, a lot of us, and we're ready for the next thing. We're ready to evolve, but the old system doesn't want to die, and so it's fighting, it's gasping, it's trying to
Yeah.
stay relevant. That's
Yeah.
how I see
It
it.
well, it and I think it's some of that. And certainly people don't like change. People don't like to take personal responsibility. I see that as one of the reasons for authoritarianism. They want somebody
Yeah,
else to be their savior.
right,
And
right,
then the
for
person
sure.
who is filling that role, that authoritarian role, is often they tend to be malignant narcissists
Yeah,
who think that the world is there to serve them and not the other way around.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
we're just falling back into that dynamic. Uh, I, I, I'm full on that MAGA is a cult
yeah,
because I don't know how we have such a defective person at the head of our nation and that there's so many people that can't see it. I mean, it's
yeah,
just beyond staggeringly like confusing to me
yeah, yeah.
because he is so completely incapable
I think
of
it's
doing the job.
because you've distanced yourself from religion, and so it doesn't have that same sway like that group think, you know,
Well,
and
that's the thing, right?
if you were
It,
still a devout Mormon, you would probably be thinking Trump's the best. He's going to save us. You know, like
yeah. I
religious
find
people
though,
have messiah complexes. They just want a savior.
yeah, but I find that there's a temperament. There is a, yeah, I'll call it a temperament that prefers that authoritarian, type of leadership,
Yeah,
which we grew up with in the Mormon church, right?
right, right.
But there's also a temperament that will never accept that kind of at least over the course of their lifetime as they become mature adults,
Hmm.
are too independent to accept that kind of a
Yeah,
system.
yeah,
And so a lot of people leave those systems they were raised in
hmm,
because they aren't independent by nature.
Right.
they do take some responsibility for themselves and the way that they treat other people.
Hmm.
And so I think it comes down to human nature as much as anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is
And
human nature.
which makes me wonder if we will ever get out of these cycles of
Right?
authoritarian
Yeah,
leadership.
yeah, I wonder too. But I think it's not the only part of human nature. Part of human nature is, I believe, hope, because I feel hope and you clearly feel hope that things will improve.
Right.
And we don't seem to have any good evidence for things improving. So it's truly a hope.
Well,
So that,
cyclically they seem to, right? But
yeah,
it or a pendulum swing, like I said. It seems to be
yeah,
it goes back and forth. And it has historically over the entire history of humanity.
yeah. Yes, no, there's nothing new under the sun, that's for sure. Like every time I read an old book, be it Walden or or what was the Marcus Aurelius or something, the some
Mhm.
of the Stoic writings or something, like
Right.
I read some of the old writings and it's just the same stuff. Like, how have we progressed so very little in 2000 years socially? Yeah, we've progressed so
Yeah.
much, but socially, we're doing the same thing for thousands of years. And
Yeah.
like they're seeing the same stuff that, or they saw the same things that we're seeing now. It's
Right.
really
Well,
quite
which
remarkable.
is why Thoreau and Marcus Aurelius are still, currently read,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
individuals and
Yeah.
still influence our world because
Yeah.
we
If you
keep
want to write a
going
book
through the same thing.
that people will read for a long time, just write it on social issues.
Yeah.
And if you're just kind of describing the current climate, people are going to be interested in reading that in the future and seeing how nothing has changed.
Right.
So, how long will we persist in this inability to change? I don't know, but I think my human nature hopes that it will eventually kind of break free one day and we'll be
Yeah.
better off. But
Well, my hope is, and that this may be too much to hope for because it could go all kinds of sideways.
yeah,
But my hope is with the advent of AI
mm,
that we will become not less educated, but more educated
yeah,
and more aware of the course of history
yeah,
and the way that things occur that end up being harmful to us as
right,
human beings and will somehow
yeah.
in
Well,
mass.
AI has a lot of what there's a lot of studies right now going on about AI, and I feel like these studies are kind of they're looking for an answer that they already are presupposing, and they're not going into it with perhaps the open minds that they should be. So when you see these articles about studies where people who use AI are thinking less or doing less critical thinking and things like that, well, like that's not everybody. That's just the people you were studying, and maybe these people have not quite figured out how to use AI yet. What about the
Right,
people who are using AI in much more like educational type ways as like a tutor who never gets tired
right,
of answering the same stupid questions, right?
right.
As a
Yeah.
person who is as a person I say, but as a tutor who is endlessly kind and patient,
Mm,
like that really does help me a lot because
yeah.
if I have the same question the next day, I can still ask and then it's not going to say, why did you forget, or anything like that. It's just going to tell me the answer again. And so if
Right,
you use AI the right way, it is a tool for learning. It helps you to
right,
learn very quickly. But
right.
if you're using
And
it to avoid thinking, because there's people who love to avoid thinking, and these people are probably the ones who are using AI to reduce their critical thinking skills because they don't want critical thinking skills in the first place. They can finally offload their critical thinking skills, and they're happy to do it. They would have done it sooner if something had been around. So I think we gotta look at AI a bit more with an open mind and not try to reach predetermined conclusions through research.
right. And it is just a tool. And, any tool can be wielded for good or for bad.
Yes.
But here's the thing I'm thinking as to go back to our topic.
Mhm.
Surely AI could take the data, the population data of the United States of America, and draw district lines that are fair and equitable and make some damn sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would take a little bit of work to maybe train it in towards that
Right.
direction, but yes, I think it could. I think that's definitely something that's possible. And I really think we should probably consider using AI once we really kind of get it a little bit more refined in government more, just as a way of being more objective and more fair towards everyone, because the computer
Right.
doesn't really care.
Right. Well, and it can factor in things like the Voting Rights Act and other
Right.
laws that we have in place around fairness. And we don't have to rely on a human being to be nonpartisan,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And so we could get some more equitable uh, districts that do represent the American people more broadly, more
Yeah.
widely.
Yeah.
That said, I saw if we go down this fight, bring a gun to a gunfight, if every red state gerrymandered out the wazoo and every blue state gerrymandered out the wazoo, Democrats would pick up 33 seats.
Yeah.
So this is not a fight. I don't believe that the Republicans really want to have.
Yeah, no, like gerrymandering has always kind of been this way. It only
Right.
helps you when you're in power, and then as soon as the
Right.
tables are turned, then you're screwed. So it's
Right.
like a poison pill, right?
It is. It
You should
is.
not be gerrymandering because then other people are going to gerrymander, and then it's not going to turn out well.
Right.
And it's never going to turn out well. It's always going to be bad for everyone.
Right. Yeah, I'm in full agreement. So this is one of those cases where it's going to be a wait and see on whether or not the Texas Democrats, House Democrats, are successful at
Yeah.
breaking the quorum long enough to have this not occur. It is costing them each
Yeah.
$500 a day in fines,
Right.
which I did the math, I don't know, a few days ago. And if they're gone for 6 months, it's going to be something like $1.2 million or something that they
Yeah.
collectively end up owing just in fines.
Yeah.
So I did send $20 to Beto because he was trying to help uh, pay for that fine
Yeah.
situation, but they've now said that he can't do that. So I don't know if my $20 will, be put to use or not, but it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can help pay their fines, I will.
Yeah.
Because I think it is important to, at the very least, bring awareness to what's happening and
Yeah.
not just let the will of the people be undermined in yet another
Exactly.
way.
Exactly. Because this is a pretty despicable thing that they're fighting against, really.
Oh, yeah. And they know
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
they're trying to make excuses for why they're doing it, why it's okay that they do it, because, oh,
Hmm.
well, Democrats have done it for a long time. And yes, they have. I mean, they're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. Both sides are deeply guilty for
Yeah.
this practice.
Yeah.
And it does not serve the people of the nation. It serves the
No.
people in power. It is the
Yeah.
fox in control of the hen house.
Yeah.
And Trump knows it. And that's
Yeah.
why he asked for those seats. He
Yeah.
believes he deserves those seats, even though Texas is a minority majority state.
Hmm.
You do not see it in the representatives from that
Oh yes.
state.
No, you do not. Yeah.
And so, what few minorities are Congress members from Texas, it does not represent the general population. And I did have a short conversation with actually our brother. It wasn't much, but he says, "Well, you're assuming that people of color or minorities vote in a block, and they don't." And he's absolutely right. They
Yeah.
don't
That's right.
vote in a block,
Right.
but they do predominantly tend to vote Democrat. Predominantly. I mean,
Yeah.
certainly they're not a block,
Right.
but the few Congress people that we have of color from Texas, it's because they're from districts that are predominantly of color.
Yeah.
So you can't convince me that
Right.
it's fair to then separate those out and give those seats to somebody who does not truly represent them.
Right. I was looking up gerrymandering a little bit because I thought for sure at one point it had been made illegal, and yet, of course, they keep doing it. But I was thinking, they're just like finding new ways to kind of get around new legalities, loopholes, things like that. But I can't seem to find any evidence of it actually being illegal anywhere.
No, we need to make it illegal at the national level, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's a state level issue. And like I said, some states have, been pushing for really preventing gerrymandering, and they've done fairly good job of that. It's mostly Republicans that have
Mhm.
passed laws to protect voting rights, to be honest, right? It was Lyndon B. Johnson that passed the Voting Rights Act, you know, and it's been Republicans typically in the past that have pushed to stop gerrymandering. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger in California who
Right.
put in the restrictions against gerrymandering.
Hmm.
So they know that it's not always in their best interest
Well, some of
to
them
do
do.
it. Well,
Yeah.
some of them do. And yet, again, both sides of the aisle, it's an ongoing problem. And so
Yeah.
it needs to become a national restriction. And
Yeah.
until it is, we're going to continue to have these problems.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to get rid of gerrymandering, and we got to get rid of the electoral college. I think those two basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to protect low population states without
Well,
the
they've already got
electoral college.
senators, and they've got
Well, that's true, because every state has two senators, even if they have a low population,
right.
right?
That was the whole
So at the
point of
Senate
the Senate.
level, they've got their equality.
Yeah. And then you have to think about the individual rights of the individual citizens, right? Their equality also matters. And so when you have a populous state, well, there's a lot of people whose lives are being affected in that state.
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
so of course they need to be
Absolutely.
represented as well. So yeah, we got to get rid of the electoral college, I think. Let's get rid of gerrymandering. Let's figure something out. What could it be?
Yeah.
Because I mean, gerrymandering works because we need to draw these districts, right? And as populations change, we need to redraw them. And so it's all about intent. And you can lie about
Right.
your intent up and down, left and right. So we need to figure out some rules that we can use that would prevent intent from being an issue, I think.
Well, and it may come down to, and then you have talked about this before, not having professional politicians.
Yeah,
Instead, having serving in a political position be an
like
act
jury
of
duty
service
style.
from the population. Yes,
Yeah,
like jury
exactly. Yeah,
jury duty.
yeah,
You serve for a time
yeah,
to help make decisions as a collective and then move on.
yeah.
We shouldn't have professional politicians, I don't
Right.
believe.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to solve this problem today either, but I am going
Oh,
to be watching my home state of Texas to
yeah,
see if the Democrats are successful at preventing this current mid census decade of gerrymandering for the criminal we have in office.
yeah. The felon
So, yeah.
who has not served
All
time
right.
for his.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to happen at this point. I've given up on that
Yeah,
bit, but
yeah.
perhaps we can keep him from being able to do further damage if we can get the House back at the
Maybe.
midterms.
If you enjoyed this content, please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications.